Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Improved Photography Podcast, episode number 191. This show is sponsored by Squarespace. Whether you need a landing page, a beautiful gallery, a professional blog, or an online store, it's all included with your Squarespace website. Start your free trial today at squarespace.com and enter offer code IMPROVE to get 10% off your first purchase. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Improved Photography Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Harmer, and today I am joined by Sandy Duro and Larissa Gobetz. Hey, guys.
Hey, guys. Hey.
Well, we got a bunch of questions from our listeners this week, starting with one from Jonathan Betancourt, who says he wants to be a brand ambassador or a sponsored photographer from one of the companies. He's thinking about Fuji since he shoots an X-T1. And he's just wondering if anybody has any advice for getting sponsored by some of the camera companies. This is one that I can definitely talk about. Sponsorships in the photography realm are a very interesting thing. The camera companies are just so incredibly oblivious to the photography realm, to the industry. It's rare that I hear anything from camera manufacturers. I mean, we have 1 million people in the Improved Photography community on social media and millions more that come to the website. And we almost never hear anything from the camera manufacturers. We hear things from, Tamron and Sigma and some of the third-party lens manufacturers. But if we write anything about a drone, immediately we get an email from DJI. If we write anything about a tripod, immediately we're going to hear from the company. Other companies actually have PR teams that are actually working with the industry and trying to work with people. I've just been amazed at how separate the camera manufacturer PR and marketing departments are from the actual industry. It's rare that I hear anything from them. I say that because it's really, really, really hard to get a sponsorship like this. And a lot of my friends who are well known in photography and have decided to go the sponsorship route, all of them tell me, sometimes I've asked them, is this something I should pursue? And every time they tell me the same thing. If you can make money in photography any way other than sponsorships, do it. Because when somebody is paying you to be a sponsor for the company, a lot of times they feel like they own just about everything you do. And so it really is a lot more demanding than it sounds. Like you just get, just paid just to be yourself and go be this awesome photographer. It rarely works out that way. And so I think if you really want to go this route, you should be looking for a camera bag, a tripod manufacturer, maybe like Sigma or Tamron, some other product in photography, and not go for the camera manufacturers. They just don't put a lot of effort into contacting the photography community. It's as strange as it is. Do either of you guys have any experience with this?
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I was just going to say the only people that I could think of that were sponsored by cameras were like Lindsay Adler and Sue Bryce, at WPPI.
They have huge followings.
And Rick Salmon.
Yeah, they're Canon Explorers of Light, and they have huge followings. Right. I mean, they're great photographers. I'm not trying to say anything other than that. They're amazing photographers, but they have huge followings, and that's what the camera manufacturers are interested in. The following that you have, not the amazing photos that you can make. That's just part of it. There are a lot of people that can make great photos. All right. The next question comes from Jeremiah Johnston, who says, I give a real estate agent a free session as a promotion to gain their future business. Can the revenue I would have normally charged be written off for tax purposes? Interesting question. As far as I know, that would definitely be a no. But I am not a CPA. This is, a question that definitely needs to go to an accountant. But as far as I know, this is sounding like a no.
What if you do something for charity?
No, so I've heard conflicting things on that too, and I've asked my CPA. And granted, it's probably state by state, and you would have to talk to your professional, whoever you do your taxes with. But mine told me that charity or anything that you're not getting paid for, you can't, because how much could you say that session was worth? You could say it was worth $1,000, write it off. Like,
yeah. I don't think this is gonna fly, but there may be something he can do. I don't know. Let's hear from our CPAs on this one. If you go to the show notes for this episode, go to the Improved Photography website, click on show notes, and go to episode 191. And I'd love to hear anything from some accountants out there, but this one is that can't be right. That can't be right. Otherwise, I would just go to a bunch of charity events and write off huge amounts for us. That doesn't sound right.
It seems like you should get something though for charity, like at least mileage or something. But
a warm feeling in your heart. Yeah, mileage I think would be fine. If you drive to the event, yeah, you're doing it, you're advertising your business. I don't see that as a problem at all. Or any hard costs you have, if you're printing photos, things like that. Sure, I think that could be written off just fine. But just like writing off your services that you're doing for charity, I don't think so. We'll see though. All right. Anonymous wanted some feedback. He's looking at a 7200 f2.8 lens for his Nikon D810, and he's wondering if he should go with the Nikon or choose the Tamron or Sigma. What do you guys think?
I have the Tamron.
For the Nikon.
I have the Tamron and I loved it, but lately it's been having focus issues. So it is one of those things that I think I would rather, if you can save up a little bit, I go with the Nikon.
Yeah, unless it's like one of the Sigma art lenses or something. I know when I first started shooting, I think I was shooting with a Tamron and the focus would just hunt so much. And then when I switched to the Nikon, it was so much better. So
that's where I'm at.
My personal opinion.
I might go a little. I owned the Nikon 7200 for a long time when I was shooting Nikon. It is a great lens. And, if you have the budget, it's the best you can get. But I was very happy with the Tamron 7200. I mean, it's just over $1,000. You can find them used under $1,000. I mean, you're going to save $1,000 on this lens. So if you have all the rest of your lens lineup like nailed down, you got a great wide angle, you got a great, medium portrait lens, and this is the last lens you're buying, then yeah, maybe so. But boy, you could get a used Tamron 7200 that's 95% as good as the Nikon for over $1,000 less. I think I'd save the money.
I was tired of the hunting.
Yeah, I like it for my product photography, but if I were going to be using it at a wedding or something, then it might be a little iffy.
All right. Well, there you have it. Anonymous. We don't know. It's a tough decision. It's a tough call. You save so much money, but, you're giving up a little something. All right. Mark Connor says he has a question about shooting portraits for couples. Basically, he wants to take a portrait of the couple while they're, kind of interacting with each other. The guy's whispering in the girl's ear, and they're moving around a little bit, laughing, whatever, interacting, but he wants to use shallow depth of field. So his question is, should he use something like AI servo or continuous focus in that situation, or should he just use single shot focus, because they're just going to be moving around a little bit? What would you guys say on this one?
Try it. I like using AI servo mode, but also don't you run the risk of having that interfere? It's not going to be as tack sharp because it's constantly refocusing.
Yeah, AI servo, in my experience, is not as good, not as accurate as the single shot focus on several different camera systems that I've tested. And so I stay away from it. I know there's some people who shoot in it almost all the time, just shoot in continuous, and I have not had the greatest results doing it that way. For this, well, to be honest, I guess I would probably just leave it in single shot and just focus as they move. But I don't know. That's probably just because I would be too lazy to switch it into continuous just when they're going to be interacting a little bit. But I don't think there's a clear winner on this. I think you could really shoot it either way. If you're shooting it single shot, you just need to make sure you're going to focus and shoot right away and not hold it. And if you're shooting AI servo, then you might get one that's a tiny bit off. AI servo is probably a better answer for this, but I don't think there's a clear answer one or the other. Jonathan Bettencourt says, I'm looking to add another camera body to my arsenal of gear as well as a lens. And so he wants to know, should he get the Fuji X Pro 2 or the Fuji X T2 and how they differ from each other? All right. I love my Fuji cameras. So the Fuji X Pro 2 came out first. It cost $1,700 just for the body. The benefit of the Fuji X Pro 2 is you're getting all the features, all the water resistance, and it does excellent with water resistance. I dunked this fully submerged in the Li River in China, and it came out totally unscathed, worked perfectly the next day when I took it out of my bag. So that's pretty cool. Has a good frame rate. The sensor is awesome, great color. The Wi-Fi actually works on this thing. However, it has no tilty LCD screen. The LCD screen is fixed, and that is a major drawback. It also has your hybrid focus. It can work either like a rangefinder camera or like a normal EVF. So that's the benefits and drawbacks to the X Pro 2. It's $1,700. Now for $1,600, $100 less, you can get the Fuji X T2. Now, the benefit of the X-T2 is the flippy LCD screen. Awesome. Every camera should have this. This is what I'm talking about. The camera manufacturers just do not care about us. Every camera should have a flippy LCD screen. And it has it. So that is really, really good. It also does 4K video. And so there are some good things about the Fuji X-T2 that the Fuji X Pro 2 does not have. If I were to the price is almost equal. We're talking about $100. And so for me, I would lean toward the tilty LCD screen of the Fuji X T2 over the hybrid focus of the X Pro 2, even though that is kind of a cool feature that I didn't think I would use, but it's kind of cool. So I would probably save $100 and get the flippy LCD screen and get the Fuji X T2. In terms of image quality, we're talking identical. I have not tested a Fuji X T2 yet, so I can't say that, but it's the same sensor. It's, they have basically the same specs. You're going to get the same image quality. I feel very confident with that. It's just a matter of which features speak to you most. I would go with the Fuji X T2. I think it's an awesome camera, and it's great. All right. So we had some great questions coming in from our listeners today. But Sandy, you wanted to talk a little bit about camera repair. What have you done to your camera?
I know I'm really nervous to bring this up because I don't want to hit anybody's hot buttons with brands, and I know that everybody's loyal to their brands. But I just wanted to share my experience and kind of see if you guys have had good or bad experience with camera repair before. But the main reason I wanted to bring it up was because the first time that I had an issue with my Canon, I kind of didn't know what to do. I went to my camera shop and they said, you got to send it into the factory. And then it ended up being a really bad experience for me. And then the Canon professional services, you pay $100 and you're supposed to get better service. And that kind of rubbed me the wrong way too. So it really left a really bad taste in my mouth. And then recently I've switched to Nikon since then, and I had to send in a lens for repair. So I was thinking the worst was going to happen and it was going to be a bad experience. But I was so impressed by Nikon's repair services. They had my lens for a week from the second that I dropped it off enough to ship, I got it back. So I was blown away. Their customer service was amazing. But I'm just curious what your experiences have been with camera repair. And since you've had your Fuji, have you had to send it in to repair? And if you did need to, would you know what to do? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great topic.
How do you know? How do you know? You know?
I think it's a great topic. Well, I've only had to repair a couple cameras, fortunately. It tends to be with me that I completely destroy them, and so there's no need to send them in for repair. But what I have, the few experiences that I have had are, one, I sent a camera in to Nikon. Nikon says, completely unrepairable, we can't fix it. And I said, well, what's wrong with it? You know, it just, every picture it took was just black. You know, everything functioned perfectly. It looked good, but every picture was pure black. And I thought I was crazy, like I had messed up some setting on the camera. No, it was just every picture was pure black. So I sent it in to Nikon for repair, and they said that they couldn't fix it. And I said, well, what was wrong? And so they said, I'm not sure. Our notes aren't right here. Send it back in to us, and we'll see. Okay. So I sent it back to them, and they said, well, we won't fix it because if we can't make your camera perfect like it was the day you bought it, we won't repair anything at all. And I said,
that's
there was I can't remember what it was, but there was some tangential issue that they didn't want to fix that was fine with me. It could have just existed, didn't impact the images. And they said, if we can't fix everything, we just won't touch it. And then I took it to my local repair shop here in Boise to see what they could do, and they said, oh yeah, sure, no problem, we can fix it. And it was a $300 fix, and it saved a Nikon D800, which is a really expensive camera, which, you know, I mean, it was one step away from the trash at that point. I had a really much better experience by taking it to a third-party repair shop than I did sending it in to Nikon.
So, but you've said in the past that insurance isn't something that you are very keen on either, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, the reason that I don't get insurance is the only reason that an insurance company offers you insurance is because they're going to make money on you statistically. You know, they're going to insure 1,000 photographers. They know what the failure rate is and how many people are going to make claims. And they wouldn't offer the insurance if they weren't going to make a profit on it. Of course not. It's a business, right? And that's normal. That's what they should do. And so I don't buy insurance on my cameras simply because if the camera dies, you know, I'm running a business. I keep a reserve so that if something happens, I have enough money to go buy a new camera. It's not going to be, oh, shoot, we have to shut down Improve Photography, you know? So as a business, I just feel like it's better just to keep a reserve and to just pay for a new camera when it happens. However, if I were a wedding photographer, I just invested $6,000 in all my gear. And if this were stolen out of my car, I couldn't be a wedding photographer anymore. Yeah, I think you should definitely get insurance because you can transfer that risk to somebody else. So that's kind of my bar for choosing if you should get gear insurance or not. Is just, you know, what's it going to do to you if your gear dies? What's going to happen? Now, I did have a conversation with Nick, however, and he said, you know, Jim, the other factor that you're failing to consider is you destroy way more cameras than anybody else on this planet. And so maybe it would actually work out in your favor. And that's a fine point. So something that I'm thinking about.
I was going to say, I'm so clumsy and it's so scary to me. And the first time I had to send it in to Canon is because I dropped it. But it was just such a bad experience. And it's so disappointing to me that you know, if you look at Consumer Reports for pretty much all of them and they get terrible reviews for their service departments. But my experience with Nikon I was very impressed with them. So that made me happy.
So now, Sandy, there isn't a local place by you. I mean, our local place just closed last week. They shut down after 53 years. But I would think in Vegas there should be some place that you can bring it to.
There is a camera shop, and they'll do cleaning and basic repairs. But if it's like anything with lenses, they tell you to send it in.
Yeah, some things they have to send to the manufacturer for because the manufacturers just simply won't provide them with parts. I want to say it was Canon. I don't know much about this part of the industry, but I remember a few years ago I want to say 3 years ago or so, Canon or Nikon announced that they just wouldn't provide parts anymore to the camera repair shops, and so there were some repairs that they just can't do because they don't get those parts anymore. Or things with the firmware, they don't have the source code for the camera, and so if there's something firmware wise, it's got to be done with the manufacturer. So I don't know.
It's so disappointing when you have cameras that are as much as cars. If your car breaks, you're not going to throw it away. So I wish that there was a better way. I don't know.
That's a good point. I wish I would like to get to know some of the repair shops, the third party places. That you can mail a camera to, that you can do it online, to have a good, solid recommendation for everybody to go to. I just don't know enough about the industry really to vet them and stuff, but it'd be really nice if we had a good recommendation. Maybe this is something in the show notes too that I'd love to hear everybody's feedback from. If you've gone to any of these third-party repair places that you can mail a camera to, something online, it'd be nice if we had kind of a go-to that everybody in the community could really trust and know would handle your stuff well.
That would be amazing. And I've researched it and I couldn't find anything. So whoever knows it, share it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Sandy. That was a good topic. Well, we want to go on and talk a little bit more about running your photography when you're out of the country or out of your normal area. But before we do that, we want to take a second and thank two companies for making the Improved Photography podcast possible this week. And the first one is Zenfolio. Zenfolio is a great solution for making your photography website. It's the photography website that Jeff Harmon, the host of the Photo Taco podcast on the Improved Photography Network, uses. And they do a lot of things really well. The nice thing about Zenfolio is that it's made exclusively for photographers. It's photography website software. That's what they're doing for you. And so all of the templates are made for photographers. It has functionality that a lot of other solutions won't have. Things like being able to do a client gallery, an easy way to sell your photos, integrated with Print Lab so that they can get them printed and sent right off, proofing, all that kind of thing is going to be built right into Zenfolio. So if those are some features that you're going to need for your photography website, Zenfolio really is a really excellent choice for your photography gallery. It has been rated #1 by photographers for 3 years in a row. They have 24/7 support via phone, live chat, and email. You can password protect your work. You can do watermarking and size restrictions, and plans start at just $5 a month. Start a free trial today with no credit card required, so you can set up your website, see how it's going to look, see if you're going to like Zenfolio, and then pull the trigger on it. When you decide to sign up for Zenfolio, be sure to remember to give the offer code IMPROVE to get 30% off your subscription and to show your support for the podcast. That's zenfolio.com and enter offer code IMPROVE. Zenfolio.com, offer code IMPROVE. And by Squarespace. Squarespace is who has supported my website for a long time. I have my website. You can go check it out. It's at photographyidaho.com is my Squarespace website. So this is what I use for my photography portfolio. It's not improvephotography.com. This is just, when I want to show off my photos. There are a lot of great things about Squarespace. It's really simple to use. It's inexpensive to get started. Well, it's inexpensive to get started and to continue. And what I really love is they have really gorgeous temples with big photos. That's important to me. A lot of the website makers, when they are doing this for photography websites, they'll have small pictures, and it just doesn't show off your work real well. And so Squarespace is who has always done my photography portfolio, and I've been really happy with it. It's one that I can actually keep up with to keep updating as I take photos, because it's just so simple to do. I don't have to manage anything with the site. So you can check that out at squarespace.com and enter offer code IMPROVE to get 10% off your purchase. That's squarespace.com and enter offer code IMPROVE to get 10% off your first purchase. And we thank them for their support of the podcast. All right. Larissa, you wanted to talk a little bit about running your photography remotely. What do you have for us this week?
Right. Well, we were on vacation for the past 2 weeks, and
Where'd you go?
one of the
Lucky
things
dog.
we went to Santorini in Greece. So
All right.
it was a
That's
great,
cool.
yeah, it was amazing. But I had some clients contact me via text message and things like that when I was out there. So when I was out there, I had them contact me through text messages. I was able to post on my blog when I was out there because I had scheduled to post, but then I forgot to push one of the buttons. So I had to go back in and go ahead and schedule the blog. I was able to post to Instagram and all kinds of things when I was out there, which, the world is so big, but nowadays it's so small that you can do almost anything from anywhere. There was Wi-Fi available at the hotel, so I could go in and check email. I could text because T-Mobile has free texting when you're outside of the country. So it's just amazing that, my business didn't have to suffer because we went on vacation and, I didn't have to come back to a bunch of emails. Now, my regular job, I came back to 700 emails, but my personal business, I had no emails to, check through. And I was even able to add on my Pixify, I was able to go in and add the events that I would be shooting when I got back. So
Hey, I just
with everything
noticed-
being on the internet.
I just noticed I was
Yes.
looking at your website to see some photos from the trip, and it looks like you were on Zenfolio as well. I didn't realize that.
Yes, I am. My blog is on Zenfolio.
Very cool.
So, and I love the blog part of it. It's just a great, go in and type things up, and the pictures are there. So that's an awesome part of Zenfolio also.
Very cool. So what was it like to photograph Greece?
It was great. I mean, I had the A6300 with me.
The Sony.
So I didn't feel like it was focusing as well as I would like for it to have. But when I got back, when I was looking at the pictures on my laptop, they didn't look that great. But when I got back to my big screen, it did a very good job. I was very happy.
Yeah, I found the focus on the Sony A6300 to be really, really good. I did it side by side with the Fuji X Pro 2, and both me and I did it with Zach Blackwood, who I know listens to the podcast, as a friend of mine. And I think the Sony A6300 was just a hair slower, just barely slower than the Fuji X Pro 2. But I mean, we're talking barely. I thought the focus on it was really good, especially for a mirrorless camera.
Right. And I mean, when I came back home and loaded everything up on my Mac, everything looked great. But on the MacBook Pro, it was like, is that in focus? So that's why I don't edit on my MacBook Pro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or maybe it's just, my age and my vision is going.
Well, very cool. So what were some of the challenges you faced while you were there?
Well, I mean, one, I never got up for sunrise. Sorry, I just couldn't do
You're
it.
just on vacation.
She was on
wasn't even a photo
vacation, yeah.
vacation. You're just vacationing.
That was a photo vacation, but it's bright sun all day long. Is just the sun is always out there. So we would walk around starting at like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning and walk till 9 o'clock at night. But most of the day is just your obvious bright sun, which is the time of day that you're not supposed to shoot in, noon. So that's where the biggest challenge, normally will be. And in Santorini, everything's white. So everything is either overexposed. My blinkies were constantly on because everything is white in that bright, bright sunlight. So,
very cool.
But thanks to Lightroom, I can, bring it down.
Yeah. Well, this week I am heading out to Glacier National Park in Montana to do a meetup with a bunch of readers of Improved Photography. We kept this one super, super small. We've done some very large meetups, and I decided I wanted to just keep this one kind of small. And so it's only going to be 25 people. It's it filled up within like I think 2 hours of when we announced it 6 months ago. So I've been looking forward to this trip for a long time. But we're going to Glacier National Park in Montana, so I look forward to meeting and meeting a lot of you and seeing some people that have been on lots of our other trips. So I am excited about that. We have been using a variety of tools to plan the trip. And so I've been using Google My Maps. I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but I want to point it out again because it really is helpful as you're planning a trip. We all know what Google Maps is. Google My Maps is where you can make kind of your own custom map. So it's just the regular Google Maps, and you can get satellite view and everything else. But then you can put your own pins on it and make notes all over the map, etc. And you can share it with other people who are going on the trip with you. And so we have kind of our own little map of Glacier National Park, and then we've put pins on it. Like a green pin is something awesome, an orange is okay, and a red is not so good. Just kind of stop there if you have some extra time. So if you're ever planning a trip, check out Google My Maps. The best way to get to it is, I don't even know how you get there. Just go into Google and type in Google My Maps, and then it comes up to do that one. To make your custom map. It's been super helpful for planning these trips, and then you can kind of visualize where different locations are so that you can plan to hit them kind of in the same times. Because I've never been to Glacier National Park. I don't know anything about it or what locations are good or anything, and so it's really nice to be able to do that. So I just kind of want to point that out if you're planning any road trips or any big photo trips, traveling.
Does it integrate with your regular Google Map app or on your phone?
I don't know if you can send it to your phone. That's a great question. I have no idea.
Because you know how now it's like Google Maps will have your home and your work, and I wonder if it just automatically integrates as long as you're logged in.
Good question. I don't know that. But I've made these for quite a few different trips, and it really, really helps to get things planned out. Well, in every episode, we like to leave you with a doodad of the week. My doodad this week is going to be this Cree XML T6 headlight that I got for the trip to Glacier. Whenever you're going out to shoot with the Improved Photography crew, you always want to make sure you have a headlight, because we do not shoot, wake up at 10 o'clock, shoot for an hour and go back to bed kind of thing. When we are out shooting, we are going to shoot until it's black, and then we're going to go do night photography, and we go at it. So it's always nice to have a headlight in your bag. The reason that I picked this one up is most of the headlights that I have found are AAA batteries, and I don't carry AAAs with me for photography because my flash takes AA's, the transmitter takes AA's. Everything I do with photography is taking AA batteries, and so if my headlamp runs out, I don't have AAAs with me. So this one takes 3 AA batteries. It also has a focusable lens, which is really, really, really helpful if you are doing light painting, because you can focus and get a tiny spot, or you can get a wide spot that you want to paint. So a focusable lens, I think, is excellent. It's not dimmable. I wish it was dimmable, but just the fact that you can focus it and it takes AA's was good enough to get me on the hook, and it wasn't too expensive. It was $10 or something. You can get the link to this and all the other doodads at improvephotography.com/doodads. All right, Sandy, what do you have for us?
So I should probably take up stock in gaffer's tape because I use it so much, and I dropped my flash and my batteries won't close anymore.
Oh,
so
no.
I use gaffer's tape, and it's fine. I've been doing that for a couple weeks now.
I'm just gonna tape this sucker shut. That's cool.
No, it looks pretty well. I mean, all of my stuff is well used, but anyway, so I use gaffer's tape all the time. So my doodad is gaffer's tape, and I use gaffer's tape from Gaffer Power, and I buy so much of it, I got a promo code for us. So if you go to gafferpower.com and then use promo code IMPHCO-15, I think
Holy
it's supposed
cow.
to be, I know, I think it's supposed to be like improve FOCO, improve FOCO. It'll be in the show notes. You get 15% off and free shipping. And
cool.
Yeah, everybody, you can use Gaffer's tape for everything.
That's right. Gaffer Power. I like this. Very cool. All right, Larissa, how about you?
Okay, so mine is, and I've been saying this wrong all the time. I was saying platypod, and it's platypod. I don't know if you can see it, but if you take your ball head and you attach it here, and it comes with little feet also. So when we were in Santorini, instead of whipping out the tripod, I would put this on a ledge and put my camera on it, and then I could take pictures with it instead of using a tripod. So it really came in handy at one of the restaurants because I didn't want to whip out my tripod. So I just used that, and it's great. I think they just came out with a newer, bigger one, but this one, and it travels really well too. It comes in this case, and the case even opens up. It's kind of like an educational toy.
So platypod is when you don't want to carry around a tripod, and it goes on the ground or on a desk or on a table or on a something, and it's just a tripod for setting it on something because you don't want to carry around a tripod.
Right, and it actually has little legs that come with it also. Hold on, let me see if I can get one of them out
legs?
Here.
Do you little stubby legs?
Well, they're like so that you can put them on rocks. It's like a little screw, and you kind of screw it in here. So if you have something that's uneven, you can kind of balance it on there.
Oh, okay. So
I haven't
you can kind of square it up a little bit.
I could think of a couple times that I could have used that. How much was it? Do you remember?
No, I think
it looks like it's about $35 on Amazon.
Nice.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
See, under 100. But it's great because it travels well, and then you get this little pouch thing, and you can put your ball head in here, and it also attaches to your belt if you want, a Velcro thing. So it's really handy. I loved it. I made my husband carry the tripod, but I carried this.
Like, if you carry this giant tripod, I'll carry the platypod.
It's not a giant tripod, but his bag was empty, and mine had, lenses and stuff in it.
So did you find that you actually use this a lot? Because I keep seeing this at conferences, and I keep thinking, like, come on, when would I actually have a situation that I wanted to set the camera on the ground or something to take a picture?
I did use it at the restaurant one of the restaurants we were at. Actually, I used it at several restaurants because, we're on the cliffs and I wanted to take pictures. And that way I didn't have to hold it, and I didn't have a tripod that was in someone else's way that was at a table, next to us. So,
So what about
I did use it quite a bit on this trip.
What about this compared to like a GorillaPod? Why would you choose the platypod over a GorillaPod?
Because the GorillaPod, I have a GorillaPod, and I had it for my D800, and it just barely held my D800.
Makes
sense.
It
was one of the more expensive GorillaPods, the ones for the weight. And I was always worried about it because the legs are so wobbly. If you tilt the camera a little bit, it didn't always stand up really straight. I do have one here. I just don't use it anymore.
Okay.
So I think this is more stable.
Very cool. Well, before we end, I want to remind everybody to check out the Improve Photography Retreat. Larissa and Sandy and I are all going to be there, plus Nick Page and Erica Kay and Josh Corrigan and Dale Rogers and Connor Hibbs. We're going to have almost the entire crew over there, plus some of our other non-Improve Photo friends who are cool and we think you guys will want to learn from. It's going to be March 9 to 11 in Phoenix, Arizona. You can find out all the details at improvephotographyretreat.com. We have 183 days to prepare for the conference. Super excited about it. So I just want to tell you a couple other things about the conference if you've been kind of eyeing it and wondering. about how it's going to work, kind of give you an update on how it's going. First of all, it's only been for sale for a little over a week, and it's already halfway sold out. There are 140 tickets available, and 70 of them have already been snapped up. I don't know how long it's going to take for the rest of them to be gone, if you have a while, or if they're going to be going in the next week like the first 70 have. But you probably have a couple weeks, I think, to make a decision. But it's going to be at the Hyatt Hotel in Phoenix. Really nice place to stay. It's super expensive to stay at most places in Phoenix in March, but we got a really nicely discounted rate. And if you get a hotel there, you will also, as soon as you purchase, we send you an email and invite you to a private Facebook group just for the attendees of the conference. And so if you go book a room, you could probably post in there and say, hey, does anybody want to book with me, etc. But we have a discounted rate there. If you when you call the hotel, just use that discount code Improve Photography. A conference pass is only $349, which is extremely reasonable. I'm not sure that we're going to make any profit. I just hope it's not a loss on this conference. But it's going to be so much fun. So much fun. I was looking at the sessions the other day, and we have some cool stuff coming up. We have Greg Benz, who's the maker of Lumenzia. Like, he's the guy who made the software for luminosity masking. Josh Corrigan, you know him from the podcast. He's a professional aerial and architectural photography. He's going to be bringing along some drones for us. Sandy's talking about commercial and product photography. Larissa's talking about shooting kids. Michael Binsky is an amazing wedding photographer and a storm chaser. I just interviewed him on the Tripod podcast a couple weeks ago. Of course, Nick Page. You all love Nick. Connor Hibbs is going to be there talking about photography and retouching. Cecilia and Dale Rogers are coming all the way from Australia to come to talk to us about conservation and landscape photography. Trevor Daly is the marketing director at MagMod and a professional portrait photographer. Is going to be there. Jeff Harmon from the Photo Taco podcast talking about Lightroom. Erica Kay, I'm going to be there, of course. We really have a really cool group of people coming to speak, and some neat presentations, some cool things that just kind of the things that don't really fit into a podcast. You can't really learn just online, and so we love to do this kind of event. One thing that we're going to do different at the Improved Photography Retreat is that every single session, no exceptions, has to be hands-on. If we're talking about macro photography, we're going to have setups all around the room that you can actually go do the macro photography. If we're talking about wedding photography, we're going to have a model there. If we're talking about drones, it's not going to be in a classroom. We're going to get out and we're going to go fly some drones. We rented out 3 photography studios where we can bring in cars and do stylized wedding photography shoots out in the desert, and bring in tons of models. We have the 3 photography studios all through the night. So, if you're a night owl, you want to go shoot at 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody's going to be there and we're going to go shoot. We're going to go do night photography out in the desert with I've been informed how to say this, saguaro. There's no G. It's saguaro cactus. Cacti, because there's more than one. See, I'm figuring this out, Jana. She sent me an email on this one. Anyway, it's going to be a really fun event. I'm looking forward to it. We've never done anything as big as this conference for Improved Photography. I can promise you there are going to be some things that I haven't done a perfect job organizing, and there are going to be mistakes my first time doing it. But I can also promise you that you will go home with a full portfolio's worth of images, and you're going to learn a ton of new things and get inspired and meet up with the Improved Photography community. You're going to have opportunities to get portfolio reviews from the speakers. With only 140 people and right now 14 speakers, and I think we're going to be adding some. It's going to be a small number of attendees to 2 speakers, and so that you can network and actually get the personal attention and meet up with people. So I'm excited about it. Go check it out at improvephotographyretreat.com. Thanks everybody for joining us on this episode of the podcast. Really appreciate your support, and Sandy and Larissa, I appreciate you jumping on the podcast with me. It was fun talking with you guys, and we'll see you in another 7 days.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.